8/20. So now I can go and I can solve my problem. I found out that according to my model that 1/4 is the same as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5/20, and 2/5 is the same as 8/20. Now that they're both 20ths, I can add them together. 5/20 plus 8/20 is equal to 13/20. I could go and also just count them, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. And if I just counted those, I could also, so we had double check my answer. Now, you're probably thinking that this is a lot faster to solve using just numbers. And it is true. But that only works if you understand it. And when students are struggling to understand it, it's important that they learn how to model fractions so they understand what it means when they're multiplying. So I encourage them to do the modeling and then go and do the standard way that we were taught in school, at least that I was taught, and that we're continuing to teach, that we can use multiplication to find equivalent fractions. So let's go ahead and look at that same problem. And we have 1/4. I want to turn that into 20ths. So I can use multiplication to do that. So I'm teaching them to draw two boxes and to put a multiplication sign. Go ahead and put that common denominator in there. And then the steps are, first we can solve 4 times blank equals 20. Well, we know that's 5. We're going to put a 5 up here. Why do we put a 5 up here? Because this 5/5, as students know, that's the same as 1. 5 divided by 5 is equal to 1. And we can say 1/4 times 1 is equal to 1/4. So when we're using a fraction that's the same as 1 or equivalent to 1, we're multiplying it, but we're not really changing the amount. We're just changing the form. We're changing the denominator. And the numerator is going to change so that the relationship is the same. So that's why it works. It's important that students think about that and understand why it works so that they don't have to remember it, but they can understand it. And that helps them to, instead of just memorizing math, they're understanding why it works and thinking about it. So 4 times 5 equals 20. 1 times 5 is equal to 5. And we can finish our problem. And we get it's another way to find the equivalent fraction. With 2/5, we can follow the same process. 2/5 times blank over blank is equal to, we know our common denominator from the beginning. We know that the common denominator is 20. So 5 times 4 is 20. So we know because of equivalent fractions that we're going to put a 4 on top. 2 times 4 is 8. And we get our equivalent fraction. So those are the methods that I'm teaching to solve problems using equivalent fractions and finding a common denominator. The first step is to find a common denominator using multiplication or using multiples of the two numbers to find a number that is common. Then modeling the fraction so that they understand the process of why finding common denominator works. Okay, and setting that fraction up with the common denominator from the beginning, so that students are able to divide it and find equivalent fractions. And then moving on to the arithmetic steps and using multiplication to solve the problem. Using those steps, I think that is a way that students can kind of build their understanding of fractions and be able to solve addition and subtraction of fractions. Once they understand common denominators and equivalent fractions, everything else becomes much easier. So I hope this helps, and students can learn and become more successful. Thank you very much.